Welcome to Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing, Camper Kings UK, and affiliation with BetMate.
Hello everyone, welcome to Across the Park podcast. It's episode 36 of the 2021-2022 season. Myself, Judgy, joined by Pricey, representing the Blues. Oh well, hold on, we need to move Pricey across to the blue side there, don't we? For the benefit of listeners who are not watching the screen, we've got a red half and a blue half of the screen, and Pricey was on the red side. So we've got Pricey and Judgy representing the Blues, and we've got Phil and Terry representing the Reds. Well, I did say when I introduced the last episode that it was a massive week for both clubs. It's fair to say that it has panned out that way. A mixed week for the Reds and a hugely positive week for the Blues. We'll be going into the outcomes of the week and what that means for both clubs as the episode goes on, and everything in between. Phil, I don't know what's happened to you there, mate. You kind of gone on a weird little. You like side on. It looks like looks like your internet's gone as well. Brilliant. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Reds. I mean, just touching on some things we've got coming up in the episode. We have got the announcement of our two competitions that we had running simultaneously. Apologies for the delay on that. So our March competition was for a signed Robbie Fowler Liverpool shirt, and our April competition was a signed Paul Gascoigne England shirt. So obviously the March one was a red competition, the April one was a blue one. So we'll be announcing the winners of those competitions later on in the show. We are going to start with the Reds, Terry. After our last recording, we knew that you guys would be in the final. We just didn't know who your opponents would be. It was a huge week for Man City as well, and you know, as well as it was mixed for you, it was mixed for them. They lost out in dramatic fashion to Madrid. Just talk us through your feelings watching the game and I guess how you feel about drawing Real Madrid as opposed to Man City.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of them watching the game. Like, to be honest, you know, the first leg was a bit of a barnstormer, wasn't it? You know, loads of goals, and it looked like both teams were just sort of going at it. So I think we were expecting big things from the second leg, but I don't think anyone was quite expecting that turn of events and, you know, that mad couple of minutes. You know, I think I said on last week's show that whilst I didn't fear City, I preferred us to get Madrid. You know, I think City are probably a better side than Madrid, even though that, you know, obviously Madrid are the ones who've gone through in the Champions League. But at the same time, for me, you know, it just makes it a bit more nervy, I think, when you're playing another English team in the final, particularly because it would be City's first if they beat us in that final, and you don't ever want them to have that over you for, you know, forever. So I certainly wanted a continental team as opposed to an English team, and you know, as it happened, after Madrid managed to fight the way back into that game and then go on and win it, you know, it's one of them. Like, I think a load of people like their names on it. You know, the way that they've came back in so many games in the build up to that final. But for that doesn't really worry me. It doesn't scare me that, you know, the whole juju thing of, you know, Madrid's names on it, the way that they've been getting through. We've got unfinished business with Madrid. You know, after they beat us in Kiev. You know, when Salah had to go off injured, and then we had that clown and goal Karius, which was actually the start of this podcast. I think it was our first episode reviewing that final, wasn't it? But
that's his age, Dan.
Yeah, so it's interesting that it's sort of come full circle. But you know, as I say, I wanted Madrid, and we've got Madrid, and now, you know, we've just got to go on now to Paris and obviously do the business, and you know what I mean. Start, like, make sure that the season for us doesn't peter out. You know, and we want like a big end to it, and certainly, you know, the European Cup win would be that.
Since the Madrid game's been confirmed, or the final's been confirmed, there's been obviously a lot of talk / banter. I guess the Carlo's got, you know, Klopp's number based on games, you know, both as Everton manager and in previous. Is there anything in that for you?
Nah, I don't think so. You know, I think you can look at like records like that and stuff, and I don't really think that's a big deal to me. You know, if you think back, it probably is most sort of harrowing moments as a manager is probably come at the end of Liverpool. You know what I mean, in terms of Istanbul in 2005. So it's one of them, isn't it? I mean, he's a great manager, and Madrid are a great side. But this Liverpool team under Klopp should have no sort of worries or superstitions about going to face like a Carlo Ancelotti team. I don't think, you know, we belong in that final. We deserve to be there, and you know what I mean. I think we always give a good account of ourselves in finals. So, you know, I'm quietly confident we can go and get the win there.
There is that extra edge to it as well, though, isn't it? I mean, he's come out and said, hasn't he? I think the first comment he made after the final was, "This is like a derby for me because I'm an Evertonian and all that." Does that add to the metal for you to just kind of go, well, I just want to ram it down his throat?
No, if anything, that just makes me laugh a little bit at yous, really, that he's just like sort of mugging yous off and trying to get yous on side a little bit by still pandering to the crowd, you know. Oh, I still love yous even though I left yous in the lurch. I still love her in Crosby. Behave, Carlo. You got your money into the ball, lad. Behave yourself.
Well, listen, as I said to the Blues jokingly, I think I said to the Reds as well, that Carlo mug's coming out the bin on the 28th of May. Put it back on the table for the night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can obviously from your perspective, you know, you can certainly put that aside. Like, for one night only, he's back in the good books.
Aging Carlo, Carlo, isn't
it? Maybe. But maybe it's Aging Carlo for Liverpool, though. He absolutely left using the lurch, and then he's going to set Madrid up for failure.
Listen, if we stay in the league and you get away with just winning the FA Cup and the League Cup, and Carlo takes the Champions League off, yeah, I'd probably take that 4 weeks ago, given where we were with you, Pricey.
That's an Everton successful season.
Well, no, it's just the lesser of what was been the worst evil in the world.
Well, it's not over yet. Not over yet. You're still in every competition, so you'll see.
Well, I think we had a question on that anyway, didn't we, Price?
About which?
About Liverpool maybe only getting the 2 cups this season. And
did we? Yeah, sorry, mate.
So off air, just for the benefit of everyone else, I said, Pricey, you get the Liverpool question ready. I'm like that, giving him the eye.
For Wally, I get my phone out and everything.
Yeah, he was lost in the Ancelotti moment there, weren't he? Sort of remembering what was. Good times. Good times when we were 10th and 12th.
Well, I said he was
Sorry, mate.
So from Rushan Gamaganchi, gents, I'm an Evertonian. What's your opinion on Liverpool only winning the Carabao Cup and FA Cup because Carlo's got Liverpool and Klopp's numbers? That was the question. Pretty much answered it, I think, anyway.
We're just on it. Obviously, it's a bit of banter from him and it following on from what I'd said. But honestly speaking, what would be your feelings coming out this season to just take the FA Cup and Carabao Cup?
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you're in every competition, and we're basically going to end up playing maximum games that we could have played at the start of the season because we're in every competition now, basically till the death. I think if we came out with it with just the 2 domestic cups and basically we fell short in the league and got beaten in the European Cup, you'd have to sort of say it's disappointing relative to what we were thinking might happen, and you know, them 2 that we might not win the league and the European Cup would be the ones that we most want. But at the same time, you know, it's all relative, isn't it? You know, I think there's plenty of teams that would love a domestic cup double, you know, and whilst it wouldn't be what we want now after, you know, so exciting what this season's been so far, at the same time, you can't turn around and say it's a failure of a season, can you? What do you think, Phil?
Well, just for the record, boys, you're happy with the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup?
Not happy, but it's all relative, isn't it? It's like, you know, at the same time, if you're winning trophies, you know, when you've had good days out, which, you know, if you be in the finals, which I've been in the League Cup, I enjoyed that one. I'm going to Paris. I'm going to the FA Cup final. It's like, it's still been a wild ride this season, hasn't it? And whilst it would be disappointing relative to what we think we might end up with, at the same time, it's still trophies in the bag, isn't it? What are you thinking, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be sick as a dog if we didn't win the Champions League, to be fair. And then you'd be half worried. We've got form, but you'd be half worried about like what the knock-on effect would be of, you know, being so close and then the heartbreak of coming away with neither. But we've been there before, and it's only encouraged Liverpool to go on and achieve it the next season type of thing. You know, we've come very close in the league. Didn't stop us winning it in 2020. We've lost in the final to Madrid before, but didn't stop us coming back to win it against Tottenham. So, you know, we've got form for taking it the right way. But I suppose that'd be my main worry. But no, I wouldn't be walking around calling it a successful season by, you know, if you judge it on like the players you've got, the manager you've got, the ability you've got, it it'd be a failure to me, and I'd be gutted. But it could be worse. You'd have to remind yourself.
I've got another one for you then. I've got another question for you while we're on it then. Let's say, and I'm dreaming here, let's say you lose the final against Chelsea as well and lose against Madrid. Do you think the following season Klopp reverts back to the way he did it before, where he kind of swerves the domestic cups? Because, like, just bear with me a second. If you lose both them finals and you only end up with a League Cup, Klopp has always prioritised the league and the Champions League, hasn't he, and kind of can the domestic cups. Do you think in his head he'll be thinking, if we'd have canned the domestic cups, we would have had the legs to get over the line in the other two?
I don't think so. No. I mean, if you look at the Champions League, we were perfect in the group stage, and we haven't really had a difficult sort of, where we've killed ourselves in the knockout rounds either. It's been relatively comfortable journey to the final. And in the league, let's be honest, I think, what if we lost 2 games? Or 3 games at max this season. So it won't. I don't think it's the latter part of the season that's basically cost us. If it does end up costing us in the league, it's draws against like Brighton at home in the earlier part of the season and getting beat by West Ham. And since January, we've only dropped points against Spurs and City. I think since the 3rd or 4th of January. And that was 2 draws in the league. It's like we're not talking. If we don't win this league, it's not because we've concentrated on the cups. It's because you need to. It's basically the league is now a knockout competition. It's like you can't make a mistake. You literally cannot drop any points, otherwise you're not going to win it. If you're not putting up 90 or 95, 96, 97 point seasons, you're not winning this league. So I don't think it's because we focused on cup competitions. I think it'll just be one of them where you've got to say, if City win it, they deserve it.
I don't know if you talked about the Spurs game while I went AWOL there. But
No.
Klopp actually cited it's difficult to beat a Tottenham side with world-class players who've had all week to prepare for the game. So he's talking about not so much. Yeah, he's talking about like prep times, and he said, God knows how many more games we played than Tottenham over the last 3 months. So it wouldn't shock me if he took it a little less seriously. But I think we got some favourable draws, I think, in the Cups, and we found ourselves in the latter stages quite easily. And then once you're in the latter stages, you do go for it then, don't you? So it is what it is. And I think, it'll be a good day out. And I think Klopp probably look back on it and say, well, how much did it hurt us? And I'm in agreement with Terry. It didn't really, but Klopp did cite it after the Tottenham game. So, it depends how you take it from him.
Who knows, really, and like you say, that Terry's angle on it is fair enough, and I just thought it was, again, probably something that I think it'll be something that goes through his mind, whichever way you look at it, is could we benefit from that extra prep time to focus on the trophies that this club wants to win year in, year out to make it, or this team to cement this team's legacy, because you spoke a lot about this team maybe being the best ever Liverpool team. But if this team comes out of more and more seasons with only one trophy and those trophies being less high-profile trophies, it can't be considered in that same vein, can it, as the 70s and 80s sides?
Yeah, I think we need a league or another European Cup out of this season. I think, and you can still sort of have the conversation. If you do a cup treble and not the league, it'd be disappointing. If you do all 4, then you know what I mean. It's the best English team ever, isn't it? I think that's undeniable. But
I can say yet now because I don't think you will.
that's how fan line is, isn't it? If you win all 4, you're the best team ever, and if you lose 2, if basically, we fall short in what?
You could draw 2 games, Terry.
Yeah, one on final.
But
that's it. That's what I'm saying, and that's where it comes down to. The actual trophy record is what counts, isn't it? Even allowing for the fact that you can still say it's one of the best teams in terms of ability-wise and what it does on the pitch, but trophies are the measure of success. So
the currency, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an ideal point to sort of just go on to the Spurs game, because for me it was probably as bad a weekend as I've had as a Liverpool fan for a number of months really, with basically every result, for whether it's R1 cities and then the other side of the park all sort of going the wrong way as a Liverpool fan. But what were your thoughts, Phil, on the game?
Yeah, a frustrating game because, you know, Klopp's taken a lot of stick after the game for saying it was kind of like, you know what, he said he didn't actually use the words anti-football, but he was just saying they've got something to play for, Tottenham. They need the points, not as much as we do, basically. They've got world-class players throughout the team. They've got an alleged world-class manager, and literally the time wasting, parking the bus, just horrible tactics, and
They'll do a winning 1-0, you know. They were winning 1-0.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. That's how they played the whole.
So,
no, but
it doesn't say it doesn't work. Hang on, it works. Atletico won leagues like that, and you know, sounds. And Klopp even said, "Look, that is the way it is." He went, "It's not me, and I can't coach that football." He went, "So I can't even talk about it." But it's true, though, isn't it? Like you can win that way, but why would you when you've got the squad Tottenham have got? It's not like Wolves are coming to play us or Everton or someone.
Can I just add something, Phil? Sorry, Terry, before you do, and this is on a very completely different scale here, but you'll understand where I'm coming from here. Do you remember how me, Phil, and Terry used to play for a five-a-side team, right?
Harry.
And look, yeah, and we used to come up against this really good team, and let's be honest, man for man, Phil, they weren't that good, were they? But as a team, we were just the boss five-a-side team, and 1 week, we could never beat them. 1 week, we just decided to just be anti-football, didn't we?
No,
and turn up. But because that was the only, even they weren't better players than us, were they? But that was our way of beating them. So did you come out of that game feeling any less better about winning?
No, absolutely not. And listen, you know, I think all of this sort of carry on with Klopp. I think, you know, there are occasions where he sulks and he takes, you know, sort of things, adversity, you know, not great when it hasn't gone our way. And when there's that much pressure now for us to basically, you know, to win that game and probably put it on Man City, it probably was just disappointments. And he's an emotional character. And sometimes you do say daft things. And it's the same as when, Everton, the way you were the other week, and you were made up with your performance, you know, in terms of, made it hard for us for an hour or whatever. And
That's fine, isn't it? When
it was horrible as a fan watching it. You're like, so frustrating. And it's like, I can understand why you did it. And you can sort of, you know, say, well, why wouldn't you do it? That's the way to play when you're trying to survive in a relegation. Well, but that doesn't mean I, as a fan, have to enjoy it. Do you know what I mean?
No, but Teddy, I'm not even saying that. I'm not saying that, though. I'm saying, it's sad that that's what Tottenham are doing. They've got, Harry Kane and Son. They've got, proper,
Phil. He's found
world-class players.
The manager's
you need to win,
and it's worked.
He didn't win. He didn't win.
The thing is with Spurs,
you get a point then. Phil, he found a way not to lose, hasn't he?
What's that to them? No, they need to win as much as we do.
Yeah, Phil, listen. We've said it plenty of times about Spurs that when they have the ball, they're awful. When teams sit back against them, they're terrible. They get beat by crap teams who sit back against them because they can't. They need space in behind. They're a counter-attacking team. Surely you'd expect them to play that way against us at home at Anfield. It's like you're not expecting Spurs to go toe-to-toe with us, because I reckon we'd absolutely rinse them. But I didn't expect anything else other than that from Spurs. To sit back and try and hit us on the break with Son and Kane. That's exactly. I think we said it in the preview. That's exactly what they'll do.
It wasn't that. It's all the time wasting and all that. I felt like we were playing a relegation team. That's what I felt like.
Well, we've also seen other teams almost have success against us doing it in the last couple of weeks. So, you know, you sort of do what you see in other teams get advantages with. Everton, you know, it annoyed us and they almost, you know, for an hour or whatever, it frustrated us. Villarreal done it, you know, other teams have done it. It's where it's like, it's frustrating and it great, but you know what I mean? I'm just not asked. I don't want to concentrate on that. I think. And
do you know what though? Without concentrating on it, there's a relevance to it. That's exactly what Ancelotti will do in the final, because that is pretty much the way that they play as well. I mean, look at the Man City game; they hardly had the ball. I was watching the last 10 minutes of that game, thinking, "There's no way on earth Madrid are getting," because they haven't even got the ball.
Yeah,
but they don't need the ball. Do you know what I mean? In a weird way. It's like,
I don't really think Madrid are built in that final though to basically try and defend like the lives depend on it against this Liverpool team. If this Liverpool team's up for it, I think that's
they'll have to ride the luck. They'll have to ride the luck. But they did against City. They rode the luck, but they're clinical, aren't they, when they get the chances? And I think that's what he'll rely on. He'll know that front three will take the chances when they get them, and it's whether your front three will take more than they do.
Yeah.
But
the more pertinent thing in the Spurs game for me is like, how did we react when we've always seemed to say this Liverpool team finds a way, and that's been the story, of the season really. But unfortunately, we didn't find a way, and it was the first time I think I've watched, and we just looked a bit out of ideas, didn't we? I mean, there was no one on the pitch who was really saying stop just throwing them balls into the box. Spurs were just clearing them for days. Davis was just going pop, pop. It was like, what were we doing? Just launching aimless balls into the box.
But there was no gaps, was there? There was no space. There was no space in behind. It was tough. It was like they were really trying hard and trying to force the issue, but there was just no gaps, was there? Like it really did need magic.
We've seen that so many times, though, haven't we? When this Liverpool team, when it does sort of run out of ideas a little bit, the couple of times that we've seen it has been the times where we've done that, throwing aimless balls in the box. I'm like, what are we doing? Just throwing crosses in? It's just daft. And that's where I think I said it in the group, didn't I, Phil, to the lads? And I think we've said it a couple of times on the podcast and stuff. Why, when we come up against them stubborn blocks, do we still persist with Salah on the right and someone like a Mane or a Diaz on the left who want to come inside, instead of basically switching it and saying, do what City do against low blocks, and 10 men behind the ball, get to the byline and just drill balls into busy boxes. And then you're also opening up space in front, where you can hit shots and stuff, instead of everything trying to go through that middle. It baffles me that
what that is, Terry, though? Like, that's, without getting overly tactical, the reason why he does keep it narrow is because your counter press. You can't play wide the way that City do and then be able to win the ball back as quickly as you do. So it's like you can't have the best of both worlds, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but so often against teams that are sitting right back, you know what I mean? It's almost like
the other side of it, Teddy. In a congested box, when you drill balls in low, there's more bodies to get the ball between. If you cross it in, you take out 2 or 3, don't you?
But not when you haven't got like anyone in the box who's really sort of, like if we put Origi on, I could understand it. You've got some height in there and you can throw balls in. But
on that one, then why didn't he bring Origi on? I mean, I asked you, like, kind of baiting a little bit, but I was genuinely saying, like, I watched the difference that he made against us, and all right, you can talk about the whole impact or the whole psychological thing that Origi has over us and whatever, but what he does generally give you, he's an old-fashioned centre forward. He'll get his back in, and he'll be a target, and he'll be a nuisance. And he's a little less like aesthetically pleasing, but it's an awkward proposition, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. And you talk about the psychological thing. He would have had that in that game as well, because it's like big moments. It's not just Everton. It's like
against
big moments.
The Champions League finals, didn't he? Though as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he'd have been right for the game, certainly in the last 15. But I said it in my post-match, instant match reaction. It's like there is a narrative that you can't take Salah off, and Diaz and Mane were playing quite well, so it would have been weird to take them off. It would have had to have been Salah, but you just don't take them off. And I do think, you can't blame the result on it, but I would have done that. But you're not so sure, are you, Terry?
No, well, it's one of them. Like, I don't think the story of the game is like the big mistake we didn't bring Origi on. But at the same time, we've heard Klopp in his when he's being questioned in the press conferences and stuff, and he said like it needed a little bit more, just someone to sort of be a bit braver, do another dribble, do it, commit a man. He's actually came out and said that. I think that's why probably he ends up going with Keita, because he's probably thought he has got that ability to sort of commit a man, hasn't he, and try and just break them lines. So
that's the first thing he did.
He's just got it wrong on it. Maybe he's just thought, that's what I'm going with, and as it turns out, it's maybe a bit of a tactical mistake because we still carried on throwing crosses into the box and stuff. But I probably would have brought maybe Origi on myself, yeah. But at the same time, we almost went like 2-4-4 in formation. I don't think we weren't attacking enough. It was like there was so many attacking on the pitch at that point. We took his defensive mid off and threw another attacking mid on, and I think we had 4 strikers on the pitch at one point. It was like, it just was one of them sort of nights where we could have probably played another 90 minutes and not scored. But on the Salah point, I mean,
sorry to interrupt. We had a question on the Salah point, actually. So Michael Holt has sent us a question to ask whether Salah, obviously you're saying there, Salah's always in the team, it doesn't bring them off. Is Salah on current form worthy of being in the front three as a starter?
I think he would. I think his performances have been like fairly good. I mean, he's been getting a lot of assists, like high quality assists. He's scoring here and there. So it's either him or Jota, isn't it? And Jota hasn't exactly been on fire himself. Firmino's been injured, so he probably does, to be honest.
Yeah, I think, I think what is clear, Salah is not in great form though. Since the African region early January, he hasn't came back from that anywhere near the form that he was in, the first half of the season. And maybe it is just that he does get flogged to death. Like he literally never gets rotated out that team, hardly ever, does he? And as you say, he doesn't even get taken off in most games. He plays like the full 90s and stuff. So it could just be that, he is absolutely shagged, to be honest. He's got nothing left in the tank. And on form, though, I think when we've been rotating other players, like the likes of Mane and stuff like that, I think we could have made the decision to rotate Salah. I think there's been games where we probably could have done it. As that cost us, potentially it might do. But
it's entered my mind that it could be to do with contract negotiations. You don't want to upset the apple cart when he's close to signing. And I've felt like that's what it is, because there's been some games where it's like, get Salah off. I love Salah, and I don't even think he's being terrible. He's just not being himself. But there have been games where I'm thinking, get him off, and he won't come off. And I think it's to do with the contract.
I'll be honest. I think there's a suspicion of that, but I would suggest that Klopp is a big enough personality to basically go, I'm not asked about that. I think if he thought it was the best thing to do, I think he would take him off. I think he just literally generally wants him on the pitch because he is our best player. You know what I mean? In terms of like an elite world class player who can change a game even when he's playing poorly. He is our best player. I don't think Klopp's looking at that and saying I can't take Salah off here because otherwise he'll spit his dummy out and I'll have a nightmare on my hands. I think Klopp knows the power he's got at that club, and he knows that if he wanted to do that, he could do that. You know what I mean? And whatever happens in contract negotiations, and if that is the case, I don't even want a player like that who like basically turns around and starts crying because he's come off and I'm not going to sign out because you took me off in a game. What you were playing poorly in? Nah, get off. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, there's no one's bigger than that team or the club, and I think Klopp is the same sort of mindset. I think if he thought Salah had to come off, he'd take him off. Personally, I think it's that thing, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? It was desperately disappointing, really, and now we're relying on City to either draw 2 games or lose 1, and obviously we need to win our next 3. So, as I say, it was a bad weekend for us in terms of the results, but we're not out of it. The league's not over, and we've just got to keep our fingers crossed. There is another twist and a turn, along the way. Can't see it, but never say never.
Okay, well, what I will say never is you carrying on talking about Liverpool any longer. So in this episode anyway, so you got 26 minutes out of us there, which is good considering you had a relatively poor weekend. But I actually enjoyed that, to be honest. It was nice listening to you not winning and moaning a little bit about stuff. But anyway, Pricey, we're going to move on to the Blues. It was a huge week for us. We said it leading into it. Obviously it's a Leicester team that had a bitterly disappointing results in the week, but nonetheless, it's still a Leicester team that are good at home and that always come out to try and beat you. And I had a suspicion going into the game that they may have rested some of their stronger players, but I guess the attitude going into the game from Rodgers was we're out of everything now. We might as well just get the most out of these players while we can. The only player that wasn't on the pitch from the start was Vardy, but I have pretty sure that he wasn't fit enough to actually be there full stop because I think he was out for a few months. But focusing on us, obviously going into the game, unchanged sides, and what it was all about the application again, wasn't it, of the players? And I think it wasn't the best performance in the world, but they got the job done, and again showing that steel that they have done and resolve over the last few weeks.
Yeah, they showed the attitude that they showed was in keeping with the way they played over the last few weeks as well, and that's the massive thing. Rode our luck at times, which we have to away from home. When you've only won 1 all season, you're going to ride your luck if you want to get a victory away from home. But they did it. They dug in. again, attitudes of certain players was spot on. All of them really was spot on. You couldn't fault them again. And it's that momentum. I mean, there was things that were going for us on things. Because I was wondering what Phil's doing.
I don't know what Phil's doing here.
Things going for us on. There was things going for us that in the past haven't gone for us, and that sort of you when you're down there, you need them things to go your way. Again, Pickford pulling off a decent save, or a couple of decent saves, which you need. You need to keep it to be top draw. It was boss. I mean, again, technically, and you can talk about how we played and passing the ball and all that. It weren't ideal, but that doesn't matter. It's just about winning. It's about showing that you've got the fight and for staying up, and that's what we showed. And it just feels completely different when you look at the team now. And as I say, last couple of weeks has been the same, probably since Liverpool game. I know we got beaten all that, but since then it feels like there's a camaraderie and a togetherness in the players that I haven't seen. Certainly all this season you haven't seen it, and it's just a shame, not a shame that the season's Lampard hasn't got longer to go in this season. But I do think if he had more time towards the end of the season, he could turn us around and he could get us climbing up the league. I mean, it's not over yet. We put ourselves in a great position, and I'm made up with the way they played, to be honest, with the fight that they showed.
Definitely, I think like two words like attitude and character comes to mind, and that's not just the players, it's the fans and it's the manager as well. I mean, I think one thing that Lampard has brought to the table since he's come in, and maybe it wasn't as endearing when we weren't playing so well. It's just honesty, and he's like consistently reiterated since he come in that it's all about the attitude and work rate of the players and whether they want to match, the enthusiasm of the fans or whatever. And I guess when he first come in, it was like trying to get the fans on side, but the fans have realised in the last few weeks their role that they play in that, and the players have risen to that. The manager's lapped it up, hasn't he? Let's be honest. I mean, we know we've got a question on this, and we take the mick out of Klopp for the way he laps up the support, but the manager's clearly enjoys it, hasn't he? But the players have reacted to it as well, and he's made the players kind of reflect on it, hasn't he? The fact that before the Chelsea game, he made the players stay on the coach for an extra few minutes outside the ground when the coach was basically getting shook from side to side by the fans outside. And I just think that, again, I started by saying that the attitudes and character that the fans have shown, that the managers have shown, the players have shown, I've seen a different side to some of them players, and don't get me wrong, I think some of them are not going to get off scot-free. Some of them are going to be gone in the summer regardless, but the likes of Fabian Delph, who I couldn't have had any less time for 6 to 8 weeks ago, has come back in, and whether he's playing for a new contract or not, he's got more out of some of them players than we've seen in a while, and we've got more out of him as well. But it's like, I don't know, like, again, if I asked you 6 weeks ago, do you like any of them players? You wouldn't have spat on any of them if they were on fire, would you? They were that dislikable and that horrible, and you just thought the mercenary. Like,
but there was I think there was a disconnect there, wasn't there? I think the amount of managers we've had, and you can say they've let the managers down. But if you change your manager all the time and you bring in different types of managers, and Ancelotti done all right, but you got Ancelotti, then Benitez, and the sort of arm's length type of managers, aren't they? They're not getting involved. They're not just them seeing yesterday at the end of the game when Lampard come over to the fans. I think that just sums it up. Is that him and his coaching staff have obviously got into the players and used the fans as a tool and as a weapon for themselves in order to connect and to get everyone together and bring everyone together, and that's what it needed. That's what the not only the first team needed, but the club just needed someone to bring it all together and go, look, we've got something. We're a special club. Let's bring it back. Let's go back to what we do best. And that away end yesterday for a league game, I mean, it looked like I haven't seen an away end like that in years. I mean, not just talking Everton, I'm talking in the Premier League. How loud they were most of the game. After the game, the scenes of singing Lampard's name and him coming over, it just summed up a good feeling. And then, as I say, we want to we're not safe, and it's all about staying up, and it is all about staying up. But he's definitely brought a togetherness to the club, and as you say, he brought the fans together with the players. I mean, it's just it feels special at the minute. If we went now, that didn't feel the same in terms of when you see that.
And what I was going to say as well, and we've obviously seen it in smaller proportions, but the sides in the 80s seeing it, and you'd have a lot of those players from the 80s team saying, look, we didn't always think we were the best individual 11, but we always felt like with the crowd behind us and with the camaraderie we had that we could beat anything. And like, I know we do take the mick or ingest about like what goes on across the park, but you can see from the last few weeks with our fans back behind us again, the difference it does make. And we say we rode our luck yesterday, which I think we did at times, but also I almost feel in the Leicester players' minds, they at some point they almost give up as if like we're never going to score. We can't beat these. Do you know what I mean? Like that goal from Michalenko at the start, when you left back, who's as far as I can remember, hasn't maybe had one shot since he's played for us, scores a volley from 25 yards out, absolute Walesy in the bottom corner. They scored a freak goal, which is that, and then we literally, almost hit back. And I think there was almost a degree of their players thinking, we're not beating these today.
Yeah, I think like I watched your game, and you know what I mean. I think we got it. I think Leicester were poor. I mean, they got booed, didn't they? They got booed off. I don't think they've won in 6 games now, so they are like struggling a little bit. But at the same time, you did look like you wanted it more, and they didn't. And that is, it does make the difference, that sort of application. And as you say, your away end was up for it. For me though, like looking at it now, for where yous are in terms of staying up, when you were looking at your running, there was games, wasn't there, where you probably thought we'll definitely win them games, or we'll get points in them ones, but these are the dicey ones. Maybe Leicester was one of the dicey ones where it's easier to get up for it. Like, come on, let's try and get something out of this game. But is it the next ones coming up now where the fans are in a feel good moment, the players are thinking, they're feeling up themselves, like, we might stay up here? Is it now the most important point not to get complacent against the likes of Brentford and maybe the ones that you thought were bankers, Watford and that?
And that's down to Lampard's management, isn't it? That's to see what type of manager he is. Can he get us up for those games? Because it can turn game on game. I mean, it's proven that way over the last couple of weeks. Game on game, it can turn, and we can find ourselves back in the relegation zone at the end of this week. So it's down to Lampard to keep them focused and keep them in the mind. But you're right, the games that we weren't expecting, if you drew out the points we were going to get, we weren't expecting 6 points from Chelsea and Leicester. I don't think anyone could, in the right mindset, that they're expecting 6 points. But we are expecting to get points in the next 3 games. Especially 2 at home. I think I would have expected us to win those 2 home games. So it is about making sure that the players stay focused and don't think that the job's done, because it's far from done. So that's what it comes down to. And if the players show the application that they've shown, I think we'd be all right. But it is massive.
There is a bit of, and probably what you're getting at as well, Terry, there's a bit of a tactical conundrum there as well, isn't there? Because the way we've set up against Chelsea and Leicester, we've set up to counter them and know that there are 2 teams that do suffer when the other team sits back and soaks it up and maybe hits them on the counter. We can't approach the Watford game like that away, or maybe we could, but it would be a very strange approach to take against a wounded animal. But then, are they a wounded animal if they're already down and they're playing with a degree of freedom? Are they going to come out and throw the kitchen sink at us because they've got nothing to lose now? So you'd almost have it. I mean, if it was me, I'd almost be saying to the players, we need to expect from Watford what Chelsea and Leicester have given to us and more for the first 20 minutes, because they're going to go hell for leather, throw men forwards, because they just want to give the fans something to kind of be cheerful for before they go down. The home game is a different proposition, but I think it's a really interesting week. And like Terry said, I think it is, and you said, Pricey, it's a test of the manager tactically, whether he can get it right against these teams and whether he can change the mindset of the players to be sitting in the mindset of favourites, because we're favourites going into the next 3 games to win them games. And it's like, I don't think the mindset of the fans is going to change. I think the fans are enjoying this kind of wave of enthusiasm and aggression and all that, and really getting behind the team. And I don't think that's going to change going into the next couple of games. But I think the mindset of the players and getting that right is going to be a massive test for Lampard.
Yeah,
the confidence, isn't it? If we hadn't won on yesterday, or if we'd just got a point against Chelsea or whatever, then it would have been. I know we need to win these games, but there would have been more desperation about it, wouldn't it? And then there's that issue of if we can't break teams down, if we can't break Watford down, or when we
more belief, isn't it?
Yeah, but more belief in it. I think we can put our chest out against Watford and know that we are better than them, and know that we can play football better than we did on Sunday or we did against Leicester. I mean, on the ball and in possession and stuff. Because when you watch Watford, they're poor. They're poor. And I know you're saying that they've got their off the leash and whatever else, but that's a game you need to look at, and you need to. I think we can pretty much, if we beat Watford and Leeds don't win, I think, you can pretty much wrap it up. I think if we can do that, so that's the importance, and that's the carrot, if you like, for Wednesday's game, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah. But I mean, yesterday, just obviously before we do move on, I think it was again like we just mentioned the Michalenko goal, brilliant strike. I mean, Yerry, it's disappointing we're going to be missing Yerry Mina now. I'm not sure how long he's going to be out for, but it's like, is that for you to a certain degree? Is that sum up his Everton career?
Yeah. It's as good as we are when he's in the team now. I think we need to look to replace him as well in the summer, because you can't rely on someone he's injury prone, isn't he? Whether you like it or not, as good as he is when he plays him, he doesn't play. He doesn't play enough minutes. It was disappointing he went back, but you've got to say Keane and Holgate stepped up. Keane especially, and Holgate. I think Holgate's been really good the last couple of weeks, but Keane stepped up as well, and they've done well together. So it's one of them. If they can do that, and then in the summer, I'd definitely look to replace Mina, because can't be relied upon, unfortunately.
No, I agree. We spoke a little bit about the mentality of the players going into the upcoming games and games we're expecting to win. Do you expect them for that reason to shuffle the pack a little bit, or maybe will it be the same personnel and a slightly different shape or whatever? Because we know Iwobi's kind of plays in this weird right wing back / midfield role, hasn't he? It's depending on whether we've got the ball or haven't got the ball. It's either like 3-5-2 or it's 4-3-3. Do you expect Iwobi to maybe just be given a bit more license to get involved in the play and us to maybe play more of a flat back four?
Yeah, I think he might go back to the 4-3-3 with Iwobi and Doucouré off Delph. I think that's probably the formation he'll go to. Just purely for what you said before, it's not going to be a backs to the, or you wouldn't expect it to be as much of a backs to the wall type of performance than it was against Leicester and Chelsea. So maybe he does give a bit more freedom, and we know that we can play that way. I would expect him to change it, but I think we've just played Sunday, and you got to look at players being tired and stuff. When you've got the momentum, and when those teams are getting the win, and when the players are getting the win, sometimes it's better just to keep the momentum and keep an unchanged team. You just say, right, go ahead, same players, do it again. So I can't see him changing too much of the personnel, but as you say, maybe just go to the flat back four. With them all be more in midfield, I'd say. I know.
Is he saving it? Do you think he's saving Calvert-Lewin for the home games?
Yeah. I wouldn't. It's like the Mina situation, isn't it? You don't want to bring them back too soon and burn them out. And the home games, he probably get more of an opportunity, wouldn't he, than he would against Watford. And the home games are probably the better games to play. So I wouldn't. We're doing all right. Richarlison's not a number 9, but he's been doing all right up there, hasn't he, with Gray and Gordon off him. So I think he'll stick with it for Wednesday.
Phil, I think have we got a question or two on our side?
Yeah, we had one from Peter Murray. Sorry?
Sideways, Phil. You've gone to the side again.
Oh my God. Having a nightmare today, aren't I?
Yeah, you're right. It's all right. In general. Yeah.
What have you done here?
Oh, has he gone again?
He's gone again. Anyone listening?
Get him out the stream. So I'll try and let me just have a quick look and see if I can get the question.
I mean, I know one of them is something along the lines of I think looking towards next season, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, well, 2 of the questions. So we had one that said, now the ever safe, what do the Blues think needs to happen to avoid the repeat next season? And then we had another question which came in on the Twitter from Toffee Talk, which said, if our next 2 results are positive and Burnley and Leeds lose, we stay up. At that point, should the supporters turn their attention to the board and the mismanagement of this great club at the last home game of the season? And if not, when should we do that?
Go on, Pricey. Let you go first.
So what are we asking first? The mismanagement point.
Yeah, I think the main thing is just like sort of what do you need to do to avoid the repeat next season, and at what point, should the fans basically express, the sort of their anger at what has been, board mistakes, hasn't it, and basically ownership mistakes as opposed to anything else.
Well, I think looking at that one, I think we've changed the director of football. We've got a different manager from when those last protests were, which, you know, them protests hit hard, and the club would have felt that Mashiri came right. They would have felt those protests back whenever it was around December, Christmas time. And he changed director of football, changed the manager. I think if we finish the season on a positive, I almost feel like we should just leave it at that and just go into the next season with momentum and just finish on a high and try and not bring it down and just try and get that going. As we said before, the connect between the fans and the manager is strong, and he's built something. So I think to go then above him and try and have a protest about the mismanagement of the club just feels like it wouldn't be advised if it was me. I'd just rather finish on a high and go into the next season.
I'm not sure if the boards are trying to seize the initiative here of obviously the current enthusiasm of the fans, and maybe they are, or maybe it's just something they're working on in the background. But there was a press release that went out a couple of hours ago that was sent to us across the park, and it's in relation to the processes began to elect Everton's fan advisory board. So there's applications where fans can apply to be on the advisory board, and it's once established, the advisory board will meet regularly with Everton's hierarchy and will be consulted on long-term strategic issues. It's obviously it's following a collaboration between the club, the football club, and the Everton shareholder steering group. So whether the club is trying to kind of preempt and maintain the bit of the good momentum that the club or the team has generated over the last few weeks, and maybe trying to avoid a return to these protests before the season finishes, I guess that can only be seen to a certain extent as a positive, and you know, in answer to the question whether that will avoid any further protests remains to be seen. I mean, I agree with you, Pricey. I think it looks like the club have made some positive steps over the last few months. I think that is another positive step in that direction. They want to avoid public protest, don't they? They want to try and do all of this stuff behind closed doors and maybe try and preempt any future protests and try and be proactive rather than reactive to situations. So you'd hope that would happen. We'll obviously see how that pans out. My feeling is, I think the fans are starting to get, you know, certainly from the last few weeks, a bit of the love for the club back again and a love for the current team. The manager's been a big part of that. I think if the results keep coming towards the end of the season, I don't see the fans personally turning publicly against the owners during the season. I think they'll probably continue to support the team. And I think they'll probably wait and see what the summer brings. I don't think anyone's under any illusions that because of financial fair play that we'll have to take a different approach in the summer. I think we will have to shift some players. You know, there's been talk already of bids coming in for Jordan Pickford, of Richarlison maybe eventually, you know, maybe making the move and the club putting a price tag on him. I'm not against either of those things if the manager is confident that the funds that are brought in can be reinvested and that we can put players on the pitch that he's more confident can deliver what he wants to deliver.
Yeah, on the playing side, I think we definitely need to get rid of quite a few players who you go back to them, they're just still not good enough for what Everton want them to do. Okay, they've showed a bit of fight in the last few weeks and fair play to them, but they're still not good enough. And then if you protest, I always think, what are you protesting for? What's the outcome that you're after if you're protesting? So they've sent a press release saying that they're going to listen to what you just mentioned, that they're going to listen to the fans more with the fans advisory board. As I said before, they've made the changes at a higher level, which, you know, indicate that they're listening to the fans anyway, and they're trying to move the club forward. So what would the protest be? You can't just keep going on and say, oh, over the last 5 years you haven't spent very wisely. It's just a moan, isn't it? There's no point as far as I can see. And you've got to be careful of what you wish for as well. At the end of the day, you know, we've got Mashiri who's might have failed, and, you know, I've been his biggest critic as well. But he's still there, he's still digging in, he's still prepared to put money in and to try and lift us up and forward. So it's one of them. I don't think so. But on the playing side of it, yeah, I think there still needs to be quite a few changes. And as you say, if we can sell some of those players that haven't performed for a decent sum, then it gets reinvested in the squad. Lampard can hopefully his record of bringing youngsters in and blooding youngsters can be replicated at Goodison as well. Then see what happens. But I think we should go into the next season if we stay up, you know, which is a big if at this moment, and we win the last few games. We can go into the next season hopefully pretty positive.
Definitely. We'll go around the houses then. There's a couple of upcoming games. I'll allow the Reds to go first because their games tomorrow night against Villa. Obviously a few interesting subplots again, as usual. They've not only got Gerrard, they've got Gary McAllister, they've got Tom Culshaw, they've got a Liverpool bench. I spoke to Tom Culshaw before the Burnley game that Villa played. Joking, texting him in the morning saying, "We need you to win today." His reply was, "We need to win for ourselves. We're only on 40 points. They've obviously now got to 43, which is a big weight off their shoulders as a team, as a club. I expect them to kind of be, again, off the reins a little bit. They'll probably go at you, I think, at Villa Park. They're probably going to want to try and stick the knife in. Gerrard as himself will want to try and prove that he is the candidate in waiting for whenever Klopp does decide to move on. What are you expecting from Villa and brief predictions?
Listen, I expect Villa to go and try and win that game. In front of their own fans and on a midweek game. Under the lights, they'll absolutely be up for it. They've got good players. They've sort of just dribbled away, haven't they, a little bit in this season. But at the same time, I want this Liverpool team to be a bit of a wounded animal itself, and show that they're angry about what happens, against Spurs and that we've dropped points and basically make sure that we go and win this game. It's absolutely vital, not only in the context of still keeping on the heat on City in the league, as unlikely as it might seem that we'll win it, but never say never. But at the same time, we've got an FA Cup final coming up. We want to make sure that we're not looking at we drew against Spurs and got beat, or drew and dropped points against Villa, and now we're completely out the title race, and then we're licking our wounds and sort of sulking a bit going into that FA Cup final at the weekend. So it's absolutely vital that we do basically take all 3 points and beat this Villa team. So that's what I want to see. That being said, I do think there'll be a bit of rotation in this Liverpool team. What do you think, Phil?
I think the key thing is, can Klopp lift the players? In the press conference after the game and in the pre-match press conference today, he was saying in the press room there was a bit of a funeral type atmosphere. Everyone gutted, the league's gone. He said, if we were to beat Tottenham and City would have lost, we'd still have to beat Villa. that's the way it goes. So we've got to beat them no matter what. And it's just about lifting them up. I hope the players' minds I hope they haven't given up on the league. And they're putting all their eggs in the Champions League basket themselves. And that's Klopp's man management. And I fully back him to. He said he's going to go around each player one by one and make sure that they're lifted and that they still believe and they understand the importance of going for it with everything they've got. So, based on that, I don't think Klopp's now going to come out and rotate heavily, to be honest, because that's almost like he's giving the same message that this is gone. So, I don't think we'll see too much, 1 or 2 at the most, the very most.
No, I think we will. I think you probably see maybe Matip come back in, and then you might see a little bit of midfield rotation, and then probably Jota comes back in. I think. Don't know who for.
Yeah, well, I think Matip represents our strongest back forward anyway, and then a bit of midfield rotation, maybe. What, Keita for Henderson? Maybe.
Yeah, possibly, or maybe maybe Thiago get sort of rested before the FA Cup final, and you might see a Henderson, Keita, Fabinho midfield, or maybe even Jones or Milner sort of coming in. I think there will be a little bit of change. I think we did look a bit leggy against Spurs. To be honest, I think we started to look a bit tired. So I think
Thiago put a shift in.
Robertson's almost definitely going to come out, isn't he?
Sorry,
Robertson's almost definitely going to come out, isn't he? On the basis of last. I mean, the Villarreal game away. He struggled against Spurs. He just looks leggy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks tired. He plays a lot of games. He's like Salah almost. Never gets a blow. So yeah, I think there's every chance that Tsimikas might start that game. Yeah, but yeah, I think either way, I still think it'll be a strong team though. Just to take Phil's point, I don't think we're going to rotate stupidly and throw kids in and give the league up. But I do think there'll be some rotation. But in terms of predictions, I'm going to say Liverpool 2-0.
Yeah, I was going to say the same, and I will 2-0.
What about obviously we got the FA Cup final on Saturday. Are we giving it?
Why not?
Well, it's obviously. I think we'll go our strongest 11. I think Diaz plays. He has to play. I think he's in that now. So that's the front three: Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho in the middle. Diaz, Mane, Salah, Matip and Van Dijk in the middle, Trent and Robertson, and Alisson in goal. I think it'll be a tight one, but I think Liverpool will win it 1-0.
Yeah, it's massive because all the pressure that will go on the Champions League final, if we lose that one, it won't help. So I think be very important we get that over the line, and I think we will. I'm going to say 2-0 in the FA Cup final too.
Fair enough. Okay, Pricey, looking forward to Watford on Wednesday, briefly. Possibly Mikalenko out. We don't know. He obviously come off. It looked like it was just a knock. He didn't go down the tunnel. Looked like it was maybe an impact injury more than anything else. I mean, it's probably a straight swap, isn't it? If he's not fit and John Joe Kenny comes in, which I think we lose a little bit attacking with John Joe Kenny, and arguably we lose a little bit defensively as well because Mikalenko's starting to turn into a bit of an all-rounder. Michael Keane, I suspect, I presume will come in for Mina. I don't think he'd be back. You alluded before, do you think it'll be the same team? And if so, give us a prediction.
Yeah, I think hopefully Mikalenko's all right. It didn't look too bad when he went off. I think, as you say, it's probably just a knock. So I think hopefully he plays. But prediction-wise, I think we've got the bit between our teeth now, and I think we know we're close to the finish line, if you like. And I just think I can't touch wood and all that, but I can't see us getting beat. And then I think if we show the same commitment, it should be. Yeah, we should beat Watford. They look terrible, Watford, when I've seen them. I know I've said that in the past when we played teams like Burnley and stuff, but they look really poor, Watford. So I expect us to win. To be honest, I know, we've only won 2 all season, but I do think we've got that momentum in the bit between our teeth. So I'll say an Everton victory. I'll go 2-0.
Yeah, I agree. I got the scoreline right against Leicester, by the way. Don't know if anyone noticed that last week, but yeah, well done me. No prediction league this year, but I think I would have been tough if it was. No, I definitely wouldn't, because I haven't predicted this many Everton defeats. I agree, Pricey. I think a 2-goal margin's likely. I don't see us keeping a clean sheet, though. I think with the reins off a little bit more on Watford side, and also probably us being a bit more on the front foot, I think we may be a little bit more leaky. I think they've generally got a goal in them anyway. I think they have got some half teeth that, Dennis and Ismail Assar, they have got some players who can cause you problems. But I agree, they're awful at the back. And I think some of our forward players, particularly Damari Gray, is due a goal. And I think Anthony Gordon probably getting the score sheet. I'm going to go 3-1 Everton. So, again, another 2-goal margin will take us another step closer to safety. Just before we finish, I'm going to hand over to Pricey and Phil. They're going to announce the winners of our 2 competitions. So we'll start with March, which was the signed Robbie Fowler number 9 shirt. I'm going to get this up on screen for our YouTube viewers. So there it is. There we'll get it put into some kind of presentation for you. I'm not sure it'll be a frame or not, but I'll probably hand that over to Terry, because Terry's the man for that. And then we've got the Paul Gascoigne signed England shirt as well. It'll come with the certificate, as you can see on both of them, where you can see Robbie and Gaza signing the actual shirt. So that's them. So we're going to start with you, Phil. You've got the Robbie Fowler winner. Who's that?
No, I've got the Robbie Fowler.
We're going to go across that. Go on, Pricey.
Yeah, so the Robbie Fowler winner. So we scrolled through all our subscribers on YouTube, landed on Rajiv Kumar. So Rajiv, congratulations, mate. We'll send that. If you can send us instant messages, your address, your postal address, and we will get that out to you as soon as possible once Terry's framed it all up and he's sent it out to you. So congratulations, Rajiv. That's coming to you, mate. Just send us your address and we'll get it out to you as soon as we can.
Well done, lads. Phil?
Yeah, and a big congratulations to Darren O'Day on the blue side. Picked at random, and you're getting the Paul Gascoigne shirt, so well done, mate. And again, send us your address. Would you just need the home address?
Yeah.
Inbox us and send us your home address, yeah, and we'll send it out to you.
Yeah, but fair play to Darren O'Day as well. I think he's been a long-term follower and listener to the show, so good to see someone like that getting the shirt. Not that we value any followers over others, but I recognise Darren's name, so that's nice. Well done to both of our winners. We're trying to get some other stuff for upcoming months, but we haven't got our hands on anything for May yet. So we'll announce something in due course. But it has had a really good impact on our followers, that little kick. So thanks for everyone for your support. That's about all we've got time for, I think, for this week. One announcement to finish. Myself and Mills, you were fortunate enough to catch up with former Everton, Scotland, Rangers legend Richard Gough a couple of weeks back. Richard's out in the States at the moment. He's still an ambassador for Rangers and comes over for their games. But he told us actually he hasn't been back to Goodison since he left, and he's looking forward to maybe be inviting back. So hopefully we can help Everton to make that happen. But we've got that show coming out in the next few days. So we'll let this show mature, and then we'll get Richard's show out at some point during the week. He was a top gent, gave us his time, and loads of really good stories, as you can imagine, in there. So that'll be released in the next few daws. But thanks everyone for your time. As always, just hit that hour mark. So sorry for everyone who's got an exact 1 hour commute. You might have had to stay in the car for the next few seconds. Catch you all next week, and hopefully it's another big week for the Blues, and hopefully for the sake of the Reds that they don't lose too many more games.